Hey everybody, welcome to day 59 of our Bible in a Year series. We are on Deuteronomy 19 today, continuing in Deuteronomy 19 through 21. And it's going to be good stuff. It's going to be interesting stuff. But we will jump straight in. So remember, this is kind of recapping. Moses is trying to bring to Israel's attention, reminding them of these things. And so we'll jump right into chapter 19. When the Lord your God annihilates the nations whose land he is giving you, so that you drive them out and live in their cities and houses, you are to set apart 3 cities for yourselves within the land the Lord your God is giving you to possess. You are to determine the distances and divide the land the Lord your God is granting you as an inheritance into 3 regions, so that anyone who commits manslaughter can flee to these cities. Now, notice he said manslaughter, not murder, right? And we talked about this before when this was brought up previously, but this is kind of showing God's mercy and grace. Verse 4, here's a law concerning a case of someone who kills a person and flees there to save his life, having killed his neighbor accidentally without previously having him or hating him. If, for example, he goes into the forest with his neighbor to cut down timber, and his hand swings the axe to chop down a tree, but the blade flies off the handle and strikes his neighbor so that he dies, that person may flee to one of these cities and live. Otherwise, the avenger of blood, in the heat of his anger, might pursue the one who committed manslaughter, overtake him because the distance is great, and strike him dead. Yet he did not deserve to die, since he did not previously hate his neighbor. This is why I am commanding you to set apart 3 cities for yourselves. If the Lord your God enlarges your territory as he swore to your ancestors, and gives you all the land that he promised to give them, provided you keep every one of these commands I am giving you today and follow them, loving the Lord, I don't know why I said that so slowly, loving the Lord your God and walking in his ways at all times. You are to add 3 more cities to these 3. In this way, innocent blood will not be shed, and you will not become guilty of bloodshed in the land of the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance. So here's going to kind of distinguish this from murder. But if someone hates his neighbor, lies in ambush for him, attacks him, and strikes him fatally, and flees to one of these cities, the elders of the city are to send for him, take him from there, and hand him over to the avenger of blood, and he will die. Do not look on him with pity, but purge from Israel the guilt of shedding innocent blood, and you will prosper. So, setting it up so that if there is accidental death, manslaughter, right, you can be free from that. You don't have to go through the punishment of like a murder. Question 14. Do not move your neighbor's boundary marker established at the start in the inheritance you will receive in the land the Lord your God is going to possess, or is giving you to possess. One witness cannot establish any iniquity or sin against a person. Whatever that person has done, a fact must be established by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. If a malicious witness testifies against someone, accusing him of a crime, the 2 people in the dispute are to stand in the presence of the Lord before the priests and judges in authority at that time. The judges are to make a careful investigation, and if the witness turns out to be a liar who has falsely accused his brother, you must do to him as he intended to do to his brother. You must purge the evil from you. Then everyone else will hear and be afraid, and they will never again do anything evil like this among you. Do not show pity, life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. So again, setting it up here so that there is some accountability. safety for people, some deterrence from false testimony being given. Chapter 20. When you go out to war against your enemies and see horses, chariots, and an army larger than yours, do not be afraid of them, for the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, is with you. And when you are about to engage in battle, the priest is to come forward and address the army. He is to say to them, "Listen, Israel, today you are about to engage in battle with your enemies. Do not be cowardly, do not be afraid, alarmed, or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God is the one who goes with you to fight for you against your enemies to give you victory." The officers are to address the army. Has any man built a new house and not detected it or dedicated it? Let him leave and return home. Otherwise, he may die in battle and another man dedicate it. Has any man planted a vineyard and not begun to enjoy its fruit? Let him leave and return home. Otherwise, he may die in battle and another man enjoy its fruit. Has any man become engaged to a woman and not married her? Let him leave and return home. Otherwise, he may die in battle and another man marry her. The officers will continue to address the army and say, "Is there any man who is afraid or cowardly? Let him leave and return home so that his brothers won't lose heart as he did." When the officers have finished addressing the army, they will appoint military commanders to lead it. So this sounds like trying to cut down to just the ones that are going to be the most committed, I guess you could say. They don't have unfinished business. They're not afraid, cowardly. So, I mean, you could say committed. Verse 10. When you approach a city to fight against it, make an offer of peace. If it accepts your offer of peace and opens its gates to you, all the people found in it will become forced laborers for you and serve you. However, if it does not make peace with you, but wages war against you, lay siege to it. When the Lord your God hands it over to you, strike down all its males with the sword, but you may take women, dependents, animals, and whatever else is in the city, all its spoil as plunder. You may enjoy the spoil of your enemies that the Lord your God has given you. This is how you are to treat all the cities that are far away from you and are not among the cities of these nations. However, you must not let any living thing survive. Among the cities of these people, the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance. You must completely destroy them. The Hethite, Amorite, Canaanite, Perizzite, Hivite, and Jebusite, as the Lord your God has commanded you, so that they won't teach you to do all the detestable acts they do for their gods, and you sin against the Lord your God. When you lay siege to a city for a long time, fighting against it in order to capture it, do not destroy its trees by putting an axe to them, because you can get food from them. Do not cut them down. Are trees of the field human to come under siege by you? But you may destroy the trees that you know do not produce food. You may cut them down to build siege works against the city that is waging war against you until it falls. Chapter 21. If a murder victim is found lying in a field in the land the Lord your God is giving you to possess, and it is not known who killed him, your elders and judges are to come out and measure the distance from the victim to the nearby cities. The elders of the city nearest the victim are to get a young cow that has not been yoked or used for work. The elders of that city will bring the cow down to a continually flowing stream, to a place not tilled or sown, and they will break its neck there by the stream. Then the priests, the sons of Levi, will come forward, for the Lord your God has chosen them to serve him and pronounce blessing in his name, and they are to give a ruling in every dispute in case of assault. All the elders of the city nearest to the victim will wash their hands by the stream over the young cow whose neck has been broken. They will declare, "Our hands did not shed this blood, our eyes did not see it. Lord, wipe away the guilt of your people Israel, whom you redeemed, and do not hold the shedding of innocent blood against them." Then the responsibility for bloodshed will be wiped away from them. You must purge from yourselves the guilt of shedding innocent blood, for you will be doing what is right in the Lord's sight. When you go to war against your enemies, and the Lord your God hands them over to you, and you take some of them prisoners, and if you see a beautiful woman among the captives, desire her, and want to take her as your wife, you are to bring her into your house. She is to shave her head, trim her nails, remove the clothes she was wearing when she was taken prisoner, live in your house, and mourn for her father and her mother a full month. After that, you may have relations with her and be her husband, and she will be your wife. Then, if you are not satisfied with her, you are to let her go where she wants, but you must not sell her or treat her as merchandise, because you have humiliated her. So, again, some of these are kind of tricky to understand, complicated to understand. I do think still a lot of this is set up to work towards rights, work towards even we see at the end here. Must not sell, and so this is a woman from a territory that they have conquered. Still, can't sell her, can't treat her as merchandise, and put the blame on the man for humiliating her. Right? So it's not a perfect society yet. It is working towards that, and I think God has implemented these rules in order to progress humanity towards the right direction. God chooses to work with man. He wants to. He knows us better than we know ourselves, and so he knows it is going to be a slow progress towards getting some of this. Verse 15. If a man has two wives, one loved and the other neglected, and both the loved and the neglected bear him sons, and if the neglected wife has the firstborn son, when that man gives what he has to his sons as an inheritance, he is not to show favoritism to the son of the loved wife as his firstborn, over the firstborn of the neglected wife. He must acknowledge the firstborn, the son of the neglected wife, by giving him 2 shares of his estate, for he is the firstfruits of his virility. He has the rights of the firstborn. If a man has a stubborn and rebellious son who does not obey his father or mother and doesn't listen to them even after they discipline him, his father and mother are to take hold of him and bring him to the elders of the city, to the gate of his hometown. They will say to the elders of the city, "This son of ours is stubborn and rebellious. He doesn't obey us. He's a glutton and a drunkard." Then all the men of the city will stone him to death. Okay, now see something here, because this is another one I've seen brought up several times. So originally it says if he is a stubborn and rebellious son, which, I mean, it's not good, but you would think that by itself wouldn't be worthy of a death penalty. Then when they actually bring him to the elders, says to say he doesn't obey us, he's a glutton and a drunkard, which are sins. So this is not just saying like a son that doesn't listen to his parents. This is specifically talking about a son that is rebelling from God's law. 21. Then all the men of his city will stone him to death. You must purge the evil from you, and all Israel will hear and be afraid. If anyone is found guilty of an offense deserving the death penalty and is executed, and you hang his body in a tree, you are not to leave his corpse on the tree overnight, but are to bury him that day. For anyone hung on a tree is under God's curse. You must not defile the land the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance. Anyone? Sorry, I'm just going through this in real time with you guys. Okay, this note in verse 23. Yeah, verse 23 is to Galatians 3:13. So here, you are not to leave his corpse on the tree overnight, but are to bury him that day, for anyone hung on a tree is under God's curse. You think of anyone that hung on a tree? So if we look at Galatians 3:13, Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law by becoming a curse for us, because it is written, curses everyone who is hung on a tree. So God took this, like he's setting this into place, knowing that Jesus is going to come fulfill this. He is going to take this curse on. And that is a good note to end it on, because we are also at the end of the reading. So that is it for today as far as the reading goes, but we do have our questions still. You'll see I'll try to do better about pointing out some of that stuff as we go on, but there are a lot of connections going from different parts of the Bible to other parts, like crazy amounts of connections. I will, and this is something too, after we get through this year, we're going to go back through this again with a different translation. And so there will probably be things that I forget to bring up this time that I bring up the next time or the time after that, or maybe things I bring up this time that I don't bring up that time. And as I continue to grow and study and learn more, I'll have more that I can kind of bring up. So this is going to be a growing process with everybody that watches. So that's why you want to stick around, because it's going to be good stuff. Okay. Questions for today. Question 1. How do the cities of refuge reflect God's desire for both justice and mercy, and what might a modern equivalent look like today? So I think they do reflect God's desire for justice and mercy, because even though the person did kill somebody, it was accidental. It wasn't intentionally, it wasn't planned. It wasn't that they had hatred in their heart. Like it says they didn't hate their neighbor beforehand. So they didn't have hatred in their heart. It was an accident, genuinely, truly an accident. And so because of that, God's not going to hold them accountable for the crime they didn't commit. He offers this way out of it. Offers a way for, and someone could flee, and then they find out that no, it actually wasn't an accident. This was on purpose. And in that case, then justice would be had. But yeah. Question 2. In what ways does the laws about war and unresolved crime show the importance of personal and communal responsibility in God's eyes? Well, we saw when they were talking about the leadership in the army, people that had unresolved responsibility at home, they were told to go. And so I think that shows that while the military, yes, is important, there's also other things that are equally important, or even more important for some people. And getting that, I just realized I didn't answer the second half of the first question. A modern equivalent for that today, I don't know. I don't know that we have anything really like that. I mean, the justice system that we have is innocent until proven guilty. But as far as specifically like a set place that you could go where you're free from that, if you're safe, I You're free from that if it was accidental. I don't know, because even thinking of things like people fleeing the country after they've done something like I think of Edward Snowden, right? Or Snowden, however you say his name, dropped these secrets and then left and fled to Russia. That's different because I believe technically what he did was illegal. It was wrong. Um, wrong. Maybe you don't think it was wrong. It was illegal though. He was not supposed to do that, and so it wasn't like an accidental thing. It was intentional. And the reason that he's not being sent back is because the country he fled to is not on favorable terms really with the U.S. So there's some major differences there. So yeah, I don't know that we have a apples to apples comparison today. Question 3: how can we apply the principles of fairness and compassion from these chapters to our own lives and communities? We talked about this yesterday a little bit, but really it's about character. It's about stepping up and being, like we see in First Timothy, being above reproach, right? Now that is not just, I mean, it's listed as a qualification for elders, but I think it's something that all believers should strive for. Being honest, being humble, being teachable, being fair, being just, like all these things are things that we should strive for in our everyday lives. And it's going to look different for every person in their everyday life. It's not going to look the same for everybody. And so you can find areas, think about ways that you can be just, or you can be fair or loving, or anything like that in your day-to-day life. And I think that is how you you show this in your community. Okay, that is it for today. Appreciate everyone watching, listening. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I enjoy hearing from people. If this has been a blessing to you, pass it along. Word of mouth is the best way the podcast spread. So maybe you can get somebody else into this and they can be blessed by it as well. And tomorrow, coming back, we're going to still be in Deuteronomy for a little bit longer, a couple more days, and I will look forward to it. But until then, God bless.